fun.
When passion meets fear, we as filmmakers create nightmares, drawing you into the dark and learning together that we are not so different. The Highlands Horrorfest brings filmmakers and horror fans alike together to celebrate those fears and embrace the unexplainable. Sit tight, hold your breath, and whatever you do, do not turn out the lights. The Highlands Horrorfest Roadshow starts now.
Hi there, this is Justin Simerly here at the Highlands Horrorfest Roadshow. This week we're here at the Wallace Theater, going to listen to Dylan Rutherford talk to us about what it's like surviving as a creative in today's very hostile environment. After his presentation, I'm going to go up on stage with him, ask him a few questions, and then open it up to the audience. Let's get started.
My name's Dylan Rutherford. I'm an artist, musician, and filmmaker here from the Johnson City. I see a lot of familiar faces. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I see my friends here who are just going to listen to me talk about the same shit that they hear me talk about twice a week for years now, so I appreciate you guys coming out. I see a lot of new faces, people I don't know. I don't want to put anybody on the spot or put pressure, but quick hands. Is anybody here a college student? Okay, cool. I really appreciate you guys coming out because I'm sure that you guys are here for lab hours and not to see the creative Dylan Rutherford. So yeah, I really appreciate you coming out. Hopefully this will be informative, educational, fun. Hopefully you can take something from this and maybe you'll learn a thing or two. Not do exactly what I do, but maybe you'll learn how to do your own creative stuff. Surviving as a creative was not a name that I chose, but the name that VanHuss, my old professor, chose for me. And once I saw that, I thought, okay, I can do that because I am by no means a professional artist or somebody who knows like industry standard techniques. Art is not my profession to that degree of like actually making a living wage doing so, but I will say that for the past decade and more, I have collaborated on a shitload of creative projects. So, I've got 4 different little segments here that I want to go over with you guys. And I would like to start off, I guess, by an inspirational quote. Somebody who really inspired me as a young person, maybe inspired you guys. This person really, spoke to my heart. And, especially as a young, weird kid from the South, like I said, was very inspirational. So next slide, please. Joe Dirt, Life's a Garden, dig it. I did have somewhat of a comedic intention with that quote, sure. But I am being serious here with the whole life's a garden, dig it thing. Your life is somewhat of a garden, and I would say, next slide, please. There's where you're going to put your creative stuff, right? You've got creative ideas. These are like your creative plants. And in order to grow your creative plant, you need to put a seed in the ground. All right, so this is your creative idea, right? What am I going to do? It's my drawing, my video, my film, my music, my side project for music, whatever that may be. Maybe it's a script or like a novel that you're trying to write. Whatever it is creatively you're trying to do, you're going to have to plant that creative idea into the soil. And that idea, once that's been planted, what do you do? Now, I don't know dick about gardening, so maybe this metaphor is kind of bogus. But does anybody here know what do you do to a seed when it's in the ground? Anybody know? Water it, right. By the way, you don't have to raise your hand. If you want to spout something off, you can. I'm sure you're going to say water, right? Right. We're not. Right, yeah, for sure. I just want to let you know, just in case you want to, But yeah, next slide, please. You water it. That is watering. That's what the arrow's pointed to, right? This is manifesting. I get obsessed with creative ideas, and a lot of times when I'm at work, I think about this idea over and over and over, and that's very important. Your brain has a lot of power to do things if you keep thinking about it, and I know that sounds crazy. Well, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't just think about it. Yeah, that's right. You might have to see one more time and one more time. Effort. The hard work, right? Watering your plant is almost like the effort that you're putting into it, right? You got to get out there on your hands and knees and get your fingers dirty and plant this plant. So Now that you've done that, look, your little creative idea is coming to life, right? That's really cool. It's an exciting thing to see. Now that you've been watering it and putting in the effort, there's another thing you got to worry about. Does anybody know what these are? Weeds. These aren't the good kind of weeds. These aren't the ones you smoke and have fun with. These are shitty weeds. There they are, big arrow pointed towards them. I would say that these weeds can be compared to negative, intrusive thoughts. I'm a fucking idiot. I can't do that. Dumbass, dipshit, whatever you want to say, whatever insultive thing that you're coming with. Maybe you guys don't experience these type of thoughts. Most people do, especially creative people. We're really sensitive, even though we want to act like we're not. So the negative, intrusive thoughts could be implanted by you. They could be implanted by somebody else. Maybe somebody said something that hurt your feelings without meaning to. Either way, these are negative aspects of this that are very important to the project and the task at hand, whether you like it or not. So this could also be a general summary of shit going wrong, right? Any creative endeavor has a lot of stuff that goes wrong. I don't really need to list, I think, what I'm talking about. If any of you here are creative, I'm sure you've all experienced some sort of turmoil with doing your creative projects, you know. So if you're not careful, you're going to end up like this gnome and you're going to be covered in weeds. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that gnome looks very happy. So you don't want to end up like the gnome, just surrounded by shit going wrong and encompassing negative thoughts, right? That would suck. You want to get back to your task at hand, which is your creative plan. You can spray the weeds. Yeah, you can use weed killer. And I would say that doing that is like drugs, alcohol, overmeeting, social media, or any unhealthy overindulgence. You can do these things to help get rid of those negative thoughts and help that shit going wrong and however you feel, right? That's good, you know. Social media, taking a few extra hits off the vape, smoking an extra pack of cigarettes. Maybe somebody talked you into boofing cocaine. I don't know. That's not my business. All I'm saying is that, you know, all this stuff, while it might be okay for you in small doses, all that's really going to do is kill your weeds and they're just going to be dead and they're going to be laying there, right? Well, okay, before I get to that point though, you can also accidentally spray weed killer on your plant and it's going to kill it and it's going to go sepia tone on your ass. So you really got to get out there, unfortunately, and put the work in and dig these weeds by hand. I would say that this is almost like going on walks, going to the movies with friends, doing fun things with your loved ones, things that really ground you and make you happy. I just got a mini bike recently, and me and my buddies have been riding those around. We feel like kids again. Important things that really take care of yourself, rather than just smothering what you do in things that are bad for you. So, there we go. Happy accidents, right? Even if you guys have never seen an episode of Joy of Painting, I'm sure that you've heard the term happy accidents, whether you saw it on like a fucking t-shirt at Target or some shit. We're all familiar with that. Me personally, I'm a huge fan of Bob Ross, so I've seen a lot of his work. And sometimes I can tell whenever he does something, you can see the look in his face, like, oh shit, I didn't mean to paint that tree that way. I kind of fucked it up. But what's he do? He goes with the flow and he keeps going and he ends up creating a masterpiece. You know, most of the time. Examples of why you should keep a positive attitude is what I'm getting at. And I know what you're thinking. You got this stoner looking guy up here telling you just to keep a positive attitude. Well, there's more to it than that. I'm not just here to pat you on the back and say, keep your chin up, buddy. It's going to be okay. No, I really want to tell you how to embrace negativity and the things going wrong like I was talking about in order to make your project better. Bear with me here. I don't have any eye candy for this next story, but I wanted to talk about the project called The Stink Bug Man that we were going to film. And we had a cameo from a popular band that we know and love called Weed Eater. And long story short, every star in the universe aligned to bring them here. Okay, they're finally here. All this stuff happened. Like their last date on tour was in Johnson City, so they were here. This so happened to be at our schedule when we were filming anyway. So Weed Eater shows up and they're here. Oh my God, we're ready. Then all of a sudden, contrary to what our phone app says for weather, the sky turns black. All of a sudden it piss pours rain right before we're going. So I'm not gonna lie, I was a little manic. We're freaking out. Me and the other crew members, we're all like, oh shit. So we traveled to a barn because, well, we can film inside of a barn, right? If it rains. Well, there was 2 fucking donkeys in this barn, and there was mud, and there was tractors everywhere. I mean, it was just like, oh, we can't do this. So again, I'm stressing out, but I remember telling myself, there's no way that this is so meant to be and these guys are here, and then all of a sudden it's just going to get taken away from us. That just doesn't sound right. So sure enough, we kept a positive attitude and went with it, and we got about 30 to 45 minutes worth of clear rain and clear skies so we could film the scene. So I want to show you guys an image of the project here that I'm talking about. This isn't the scene that I was just referring to, but that rain that I was just talking about, we were filming from the last week of September until the middle of September, every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, nonstop in the heat and in the elements and all that shit, busting our ass. All of a sudden, what happened with the first shoot with Weed Eater was the precedent for every shoot. I thought I was going to have to call off pretty much every shoot that we had for the Stink Bug Man. And sure enough, we just rolled with it, and it allowed us to have this beautiful shot here. Stuff like this. Notice the reflections all over him. Yes, that is a man urinating next to a group of ladies in a swimming pool, but that's not what I'm referring to. Everything looked misted and the ground was saturated, so it really gave us a really cool aesthetic. But more importantly, is this next slide. Yes. Okay. So, since the ground was so wet, we could do that. We're all some hellraisers who like to do some dumb redneck shit, sure, but I will say that we're all really nice, responsible, smart guys. So in other words, had the ground been dry, there's no way in fuck we would have done something like that. Because we had the idea, we want our mutant exterminator to go through a campground and murder everybody. How do we make that more badass? Well, we set the fucking campground on fire. Let's do it. We couldn't have done that had the ground been dry. So anyway, you guys catch my point. Another point I want to give is another project called Trust. I think some people are familiar with it in here. Some of us were in it. This is somewhat of a spoiler, but seeing how we played this last year at the Wallace, I feel like it's okay to share with you guys. This is one of my favorite kill scenes that we have. I won't say it's my favorite because we got a lot of good ones, but this is definitely one of my favorites.
Well. What a fucking shame, man. Let me help you out.
Okay, graphic stuff here. I really love how that turned out. I think it was a cold, calculated, just straight to the point kill. Turned out awesome. Well, this here is me, right? That's a scene that you'll see. I had a friend of mine tell me, Dylan, you did good there, man. You really looked like you died. They were complimenting my acting chops. I appreciate that. And I'll admit I was acting here, but that face right there was actually me going, oh shit, it didn't work. We had 3 squibs loaded up in here. 3 squibs with a lot of blood. Air compressors, drain blasters, the whole 9 yards. I had shit duct taped to my body. We spent probably over an hour setting up these, what we thought were going to be, and this really cool blood effect. If you look right here, that's actually a squib that went wrong. So that's why there's also so much blood right here, because there was 3 squibs worth of fake blood that didn't go right. So were we going to act like some crybaby bitches about it, or were we going to get the shot done? My wardrobe is already ruined, and you can tell by the sky here we're running out of light. So no, we get it there and we film it, and we go for the best. Same thing happened to the back, oddly enough. You could see left to the bullet hole was another squib that didn't work. I don't remember if we had 2 or 3, but the same thing happened here. I don't remember which one we filmed first, but I know one of them we thought, okay, well, the first one didn't work out. We'll do it from the other side and get some badass, gunshots there. Didn't happen. What did happen oddly enough, was one in the back and one in the front. It was this perfect shot. And if you notice the way the character Dennis here, the gentleman with the gun, the way he's pointed, he doesn't look like somebody who's just gonna bam, 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 you know? Michael Myers has a kitchen knife. Jason Voorhees has got the machete. Freddy Krueger's got his claws. Leatherface has got the chainsaw. Dennis has a Colt 45. So this character here wouldn't have just turned around and bam, 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 bam. It would have been so fucking cheesy. You know, I guess we were trying to rip off like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something, and looking back on it, it would have been so cheesy, and I'm so proud of the way that turned out. And it wouldn't have turned out that way had we been negative about it. We accepted the negative and turned it into something positive, which was a much better kill scene than what we had originally intended. And the final example I'll give here is, this was from Trust, what I was just talking about. A potentially deranged man and a notebook embark on an ominous journey through the woods. The reason I'm talking about potentially deranged man and a notebook is we spent the evening of Friday evening over here, probably about 4 or 5 o'clock, setting up all this stuff and getting ready to film. And then we were going to wake up, and we did wake up, I think somewhere between 5:45 in the morning to 6 a.m. so we could have enough time to get that absolutely perfect, you know, morning lighting and stuff. We wanted that lighting really bad. Well, we had our potentially deranged man, but we didn't have our notebook. My dumbass forgot it. I had to go all the way back home, and it cost us about an hour and a half, so we didn't get that lighting that I was talking about. And yeah, I was a little pissed at myself for doing it, but one of us woke up pretty hungover. So that gave him a chance to go get a sausage biscuit and a goodie powder and a cup of coffee. He didn't have a hangover anymore after that. Had we have started, it wouldn't have been. It gave the others a chance to prepare. Two of the people weren't necessarily that familiar with each other as friends yet. Gave them a time to bond. Gave everybody a chance to look over the scripts and look over everything that was going on and really get prepared for the shoot. And that was actually very important. Had I have not forgotten that, it wouldn't have worked. And besides, we wouldn't have had that much time for lighting anyway. So me forgetting it and pushing us back until about 9 o'clock gave us consistent lighting for the whole thing. So keep in mind sometimes that when things go wrong, sometimes they're meant to happen for a reason. As cliche and cheesy as that sounds, you have to trust the creative process. If you were manifesting your ideas in the plant situation like I was talking about earlier, and if you keep a positive attitude, you can't really fuck up. This next portion I want to talk about, this is probably the shortest one, and it's a very unfortunate thing that nobody likes to talk about, and that is money. If you guys are wanting to pursue creative endeavors, especially filmmaking, which is what I'm focused on tonight, you gotta have bread. And it sucks, but you have to. You have to have some sort of income. Nobody really wants to admit that. Nobody wants to talk about it. And unfortunately, I don't really have advice for you guys on how to get money, but I will say that you will have to have money. I don't want to discourage you, but you're not going to be able to go out and just do your artistic endeavors and just get money right off the bat, right? You could, I don't want to discourage you, but that's like winning the lottery. It's probably improbable. So I drew up a little diagram here. I had a friend of mine recently that had to part ways with his job because his sanity and salary were not intertwining. Although he had a very high salary, his sanity level was very low. And this isn't based off of his experience, but I've got 3 hypothetical job situations here, and you notice that the first one, you have a lot of salary, you're making fucking bank, but your sanity sucks. With sanity that low, there's no way you're going to be creative. No way. You're going to come home and you're going to feel like shit, and you're going to be mean to your family and be a dick. Job number 2, well, you got a lot of sanity, but you don't got a lot of salary, but that's okay. Maybe you can get by with that little salary to embrace your creative quests, and that's fine, you know. And then you see job 3 here, which, you know, you got a little bit more salary than you do, or a little bit more sanity than you do your salary. Think of somewhere in here that you would like to be, and that's where I would pick for the time being until you can become some giant badass that just makes a living doing art. Until then, you're probably going to have to work a shitty job that you don't like in order to fund your creative path, you know. How I make money sometimes is by commissions. These are all commissions that I've done. You know, I was thinking about it for this presentation, and although I come from a punk rock, heavy metal, DIY background, you know, making money and stuff like that, it's like douchey and that's selling out and all that stuff. That doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Everything I do as an artist is profit driven. And that's not something I would necessarily say out loud at the bar. I'm a profit driven artist. But, it really is true. I play in a band. This band here, we go live and we play shows to get a cut of door money. We make t-shirts and we sell a lot of them. These t-shirts are to make money. You can make money as an artist, sure, everybody knows that. 90% of these funds just go back into the same creative stuff I'm doing. So, if you can't quite meet your salary where you like it on, you can practice on doing things to make money for yourself that you can fund towards more art, There's another example as a picture of my booth in Bristol where I'm selling, books, keychains, posters, prints, t-shirts, the like. So this is my fourth and final part of the act that I want to say is probably the most important. And I might have said that about every other one of them so far, but I will say that this is probably the most important. And that is, only fuck with people who fuck with you. And I really stand by that. What I was initially going to say is surround yourself with creative people. And yeah, that's true too. But I don't want to exclude, all your other friends who don't do creative things. What I'm more so meaning is only fuck with people who fuck with you. And I'll start off by saying, where you live, what comes first, boyfriend, girlfriend, fuck buddy, everything in between, whatever you want to call it, that special somebody that looks out for you. I'm going to say something bold, controversial here. If that person doesn't love you and accept you for that, and they don't want you to succeed, and they don't get your creative ideas, and they don't really want you to do it, you need to break up with them or fucking divorce them. Just saying, And same thing goes with your friends. If your best friend is like, well, you're not going to be able to do that. Fuck that. If you know you want to do it, then you do it, Only fuck with people who fuck with you. I hate to keep cursing at such a prestigious campus-wide event, but I'm serious when I say this. Only fuck with people who fuck with you. Okay, next slide. So what I've done here is compiled a small little selection of the close friends in my crew. And these people here, I made this collage about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning last night, so forgive the unartistic approach to it. But you notice it says split hoof and friends. Well, I wanted to talk about the and friends. The people that fuck with me and the people that I fuck with, it's important. You got to have good people around you that really take care of you and support you and make you feel good about art. You can make them feel good. You got to inspire people. You can't really do it all by yourself. We're all here tonight around creative people, for example. You know what I mean? So, Eric Hausnick, director of photography. I've known this dude since kindergarten. Me and him used to collaborate together on a lot of art projects. He would come over and, we would drink a lot of beer and just, fuck around on Photoshop and stuff. And then one time he had a project where he was doing more of a photography-based, approach toward it. Well, me wanting to make videos and stuff, he had a little video that he was going to make for more of a photography class. I can't really remember the logistics of it, but we collaborated on it. And I noticed, first and foremost, his approach towards shot composition. He was worried about every little thing in the frame, and about how things look, the lighting and everything like this, stuff that I didn't think about. So I thought, okay, well, that's somebody, we want to collaborate together. Eric's probably the unsung hero of everything we do. I can stand up here and talk about being a director, but I can't be a director without these people. Ross Grindstaff, special effects extraordinaire. I've known this guy also for years. He is like a brother to me. Me and him have played music together in bands for over a decade. Me and him have probably collaborated on more projects than I can really even, list today. Ross is one of these guys who always looks out for the creative aspect of, how do we do these special effects and stuff. There he is testing, gray on himself. There he is right there digging a hole because, we're like, what if we had a grave? That would be cool. And Ross is, I got a fucking shovel, I'll dig it. These are important people here that you want to surround yourself with, like I'm saying. Ben Jones, actor, a little bit of everything. This guy here said to me one time, I want to be the Bruce Campbell to your Sam Raimi. And if you guys aren't familiar with the two, you're at a horror fest, go look them up. I'm not going to tell you who they are. But that resonated with me. Me and him would drink beer together And we would, talk about movies at a pizza place, and then we would go home and get a different pizza, Little Caesars, and we would eat crazy bread and drink more beer and talk more about movies. Did these ideas and everything I'm talking about, are we filming those now? No, but I know that those ideas subconsciously weave their way into what we're doing now. Those days of us talking about that were very important, and this dude always wanted to make movies. So yeah. Alan Keith, friend, artist, musician. He's another one here. Alan's crazy old ass, love him to death. He can play a hell of a guitar. I've also been playing music with him for over a decade. He ripped a lot of guitar solos for the soundtrack to the movie. Alan's one of these guys, although he's not necessarily in the filmmaker mode, whatever we want to do, hell yeah, man, I'm all for it. Let's do it. God, I love you kids. This is great. There's enthusiasm. Again, what I'm saying, instead of surrounding yourself with creative people, although Alan is very creative, it's more so about, the people who support you. These are the people that you want to stick around with, you know what I mean? Genre versatile actor. This dude, he'd pester me quite a bit. He was very persistent. He was all the time up in my shit. Man, I want to do this. I want to do this. Not necessarily in an annoying way. I'm just saying, he was always around. Wanting to do this, wanting to do that. All right, man, well, we're going to dress you up like a demon. He ended up smashing his face on the table for a fight scene. He smoked cigarettes as this redneck and got sick because he's not addicted to nicotine. He's very dedicated. His attention to detail, honestly, I'm like, dude, you didn't even have to do all that. He got so far involved into it. Another good example. Oh yeah, and the Guy Fieri, that was only one shot, and that's the drip he came through with. So if somebody wants to be an actor and they're really all about it and they're not willing to go to that extent, fuck them. Okay. Last but not least, I know I've left a lot of people out here, but I cannot go without my little brother, Seth Robinson. Man, this dude right here is definitely what keeps our crew together. We joke around, WWSRT, what would Seth Robinson think? Something like that, I don't know. I met him at ETSU in the same class and shit that you guys are involved in. We had similar tastes, similar interests, and I helped him out with his capstone, he helped me out with mine, and now we work together as a team. And it sucks because Seth can't be around all the time, but I do know for a fact that whenever it comes to something, a challenge that we were facing, whether it was an editing choice or a color choice, anything like that, it's always without a question what would Seth do. So you guys should definitely find your Seth and your Eric and your Ben and your Alan and your Ross and your Chelsea. That's my girlfriend. So again, I'll summarize all that by saying you really, really need to embrace people around you who are creative and that inspire you, because if not, you're fucked. So that's pretty much it. Justin Grayson over here, the host of the Highlands Horror Festival.
Last name, but close enough.
Justin Simerly. I've got so many words up here going.
It's from the creek, man. Yeah.
Okay, so as Dylan said, I'm Justin Simerly, not Grayson. That was another guy that we went to school with, I think, probably. I've been hosting the little roadshow things we've been doing here. This is the first actual interview with one of our guests I've got to do. So, Dylan, I do have a few questions prepared for you here. Yeah, it's preparation. It's weird. I enjoyed your presentation. I thought it was very well done. First question I would have is, how do you navigate the balance between creating visually intense, potentially disturbing content while ensuring it resonates with your audience?
I would say probably the best way to do that would be, I'll always say that we make everything fun. And luckily for us being in horror, I guess everybody's taste is already disturbing and graphic and stuff like that. So, but it is important for us to, I guess, kind of make things fun, and we want people to enjoy it. Obviously we don't care if people like it or don't like it, but it definitely helps when you have something that somebody that's a horror elitist or somebody who's not a fan of horror can enjoy.
Okay, very good points there. Can't really refute any of those. With my experiences, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't really, as long as I like it, I really don't care, So, another question, what are some challenges you face when bringing your visions to life on screen, especially within the context of the heavy metal or punk rock attitude that you have with your music and your horror aesthetics. I know you talked about some challenges, but maybe, kind of mixing all your vibes together there.
You said the challenges, right? Right. Okay. I would say the biggest challenges are kind of stuff that I talked about earlier. That whole positive and negative shit that I was talking about. Whenever, unfortunately, the positive stuff just goes away and it's only the negative stuff, that is very challenging. It's also very challenging to do this at all, Especially with filming, you got to get like 12 people together and you got to do all this. You got to make sure everybody's on the same page, scheduling all this, I don't know what else to say. I could talk a lot about that. I'm trying to keep it short. Thank you, Justin.
I mean, you can talk as long as you want. We're here for you. This is your event. Your name's on the marquee that we don't have. So.
Did Alan Lopez get a marquee?
No.
Okay.
As I said, we don't have a marquee. No. You did talk a little bit about your music, just to kind of get more into that. Like, how do you work with fellow musicians to create a more cohesive, powerful sound in your band or other musical projects? I know you talked about having them help you out on soundtracks and things like that, but like specifically on the music side, kind of, is it similar to how you collaborate with people with film, or is it a little bit different?
Good question. It's similar, I guess, since in my situation, most of the people who are collaborating with the film are also collaborating with music. But I would say with music, when it comes to that, in our situations, we have a lot of, genre-specific type of songs that we're working for, so I can like elaborate that back and forth. When it comes to just playing heavy shit, I mean, I think it's more so like, hey, do you like this riff? Yeah, I like this riff, and you kind of go from there. But I mean, as far as communicating goes, I really think it's just a matter of like making everybody in the music project happy, making sure everybody's having a good time, making sure everybody's on the same page, that likes it, has fun, that type of thing.
Yeah. Do you only play heavier shit?
Well, I was going to say, we have a band called the Badass Boys, and that is basically like the Goblin, if you guys are familiar with it, the old band from the 70s that did all the stuff for the Italian movies. We're basically just a soundtrack band that's like genre spanning. We wrote a country song. We wrote a couple crazy synth tracks. We've got a couple, rockin' songs, more like some 70s sounding shit, stuff like that. So, as far as a band that I play in, like Cough and Smoke, it's only heavy. But luckily, the Badass Boys is a lot of fun because we can do whatever we want. We're not pigeonholed into writing heavy riffs and stuff like that all the time. So
That's pretty badass, I would say. Yeah, it fits with the name. Yeah, that's right. This is a horror festival. Of course, you're here talking. Primarily, it looks like you do horror films. Your work often goes into that realm. What is it about that genre that captivates you as a filmmaker, and how does it inform your storytelling? Kind of why do you always go to horror, I guess is what I'm asking.
I got you. Aside from tastes of like movies, like, I always want to watch horror movies, not all the time, but that's definitely my favorite. I would say the genre itself is the most fun because it's almost like comedy. Like, if you're going in for horror and stuff like that, if you're really looking to entertain people, because I don't think that we are specifically like trying to scare people. We're more so just, I would say, looking to entertain. But the horror genre to me is just the most fun because it's fun to be scared. I mean, like, it sounds awful, but I'm a fan of fucked up stuff. I think everybody here is probably, if you've got I see a lot of Highlands Horrorfest shirts on. I would say you guys are fans of horror, if not you're posers, I guess. So, it's fun to be scared. I think, ever since you being a little kid was fun to be scared. So I think a lot of people have fun being scared. And I think a lot of people want to try to do horror because they think it's like an easy genre, but it's really not. A lot goes into horror. I think people should take horror more seriously. So,
I definitely agree with that. Horror can be an easy genre, but if you want it to be good, you've got to put in effort, as would come with any film project, anything creative. You're going to have to really, you're going to have to buckle down, put your old nose to the grindstone, as they say. Last question here that was prepared is, you're here to talk about surviving as a creative person. You've got multiple endeavors. You've got your art. You've got your music. You've got your filmmaking. You're one of the most creative people I know, and I know very few people. So, in the context of that, can you share some insights or advice for an aspiring filmmaker, or aspiring musician, aspiring artist on looking to kind of navigate the challenge of getting into this industry? Because it is kind of cutthroat. Yeah. It's dog eat dog out there. So,
my advice would be to not get discouraged. Well, I say that, but sometimes it's important to be discouraged because that's a reminder of how much you love what you're doing. So I would try to maybe think about being discouraged as, an influential way to keep doing what you're doing. I know for a fact we spent about $300 submitting to film festivals, and we didn't get selected into any of them. And, that is something, and all these emails, for whatever reason, they send them at like fucking 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's the first thing I wake up to in the day is, sorry, you didn't get selected. That's tough. I'm sure if you guys are here, if you're any filmmakers here, you've experienced that too. And that sucks. It's important to not worry about, again, what I was saying earlier about what others think and to only fuck with people who fuck with you. As far as the industry goes, I wouldn't really know because I'm not in the industry a lot, but I do know that talking to VanHuss here as far as, the Highland stuff and being creative as far as that goes and, having outlets and stuff like that, I would say, if you're in a band, try to play shows, talk to other bands, say, hey, that was cool, we should set up another show together, make contacts. Same here. If you're around a lot of filmmakers, talk to other filmmakers, see how other people do things. And again, like I was saying, don't get discouraged because there is a lot of discouraging things that will happen to you. Nobody likes that Eeyore attitude, I will say too. I used to be bad about that. It's not good, it's not good. It is good. You gotta be confident. Don't be a douchebag and run around like I'm the best. But I think it is very important, to have confidence in what you're doing and stick to it. And if they don't like it, fuck them.
I like your motto, fuck them. I enjoy that a lot. But I would also agree with that. A big thing would be, as a filmmaker and creative myself, if you want to call it that, it's support each other would be a big thing. Make contacts, even try to involve everybody you can that is going to help you out because it's, like he said, it's about making contacts and who can help you out and having a good team of people like you had your slideshow there of everybody that you trust to work on your shit. It's very important. And having people that don't show up sucks. But once you get a good team, you can really churn out some good projects. So after my 2 cents there, I'm also going to turn it to questions to the floor because some of you may have more prepared than I did for this, which would be amazing. So does anybody in the audience have any questions for Mr. Dylan Rutherford?
What's your favorite horror movie?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
You should probably have the mic for this segment if they're asking.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That one's to me the ultimate go-to as far as horror. I mean, I guess if I wanted to nerd out, I could talk about other horror favorites that are. But I mean, if I had to summarize one, I would say it's definitely that one. I mean, it's kind of got it all,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Chainsaws, massacres.
Massacres. It's got a butt cheek in it.
Oh, yeah.
So, any other questions, guys? Don't be intimidated, please. I'd probably say comedy. I mean, as far as something when it goes on to just watch, if I'm just trying to hang out and watch a movie, I would say definitely comedy. But that's a tough one because, movies that are my favorite that aren't horror movies, I still kind of think of as horror movies. For example, the movie Full Metal Jacket, that's a war movie or an action movie to some. To me, that's a fucking horror movie, So I would probably say just comedy because, it's fun to laugh and it's fun to feel good. And at the end of the day, a lot of people remember comedy movies, Your friends go around quoting comedy movies rather than quoting I don't know. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, something, well, I don't think Clockwork Orange is, but let's say something pretentious, you know what I mean? Something like that. Like, nobody gives a shit about that stuff. Where's,
Clockwork Orange daily.
right. Exactly. There you go. I mean, at the end of the day, do you want to watch Talladega Nights or do you want to watch, like, Gone with the Wind? You know what I mean? Like, so I guess it's kind of like that. Don't be afraid to, like, just because you're all movie buffs here, don't be afraid to, like stupid, shitty movies. It's okay. So, I mean, I'll go to Orbit DVD and, like, pick out certain dumb movies there. Like, I think me and my girlfriend picked out Dumb and Dumber, and I can tell the guy behind the counter is like, huh. Yeah, who cares? Yeah. Any other questions for anybody?
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
I usually just bite right the fuck into it, so I don't know. Well, yeah, thank you guys. We have one last call. Any questions?
I feel like there's always something that gets people into horror, like
Mm-hmm.
like when you're a kid or something that you experience, like either creepy or like how you said like it scared you. Have like a story of like what got you directly into horror.
Probably like maybe the movie Jaws, even though, I think that's a horror movie again, like what I was saying about Full Metal Jacket considered not and is. I mean, that movie right there definitely made me like scared to swim. I would even be at a swimming pool as a kid and think that, like a shark was going to bite my leg off. So, I mean, that was probably a big one. That was definitely like a thrilling one. I'm trying to think of another movie I saw as a kid that really scared me. Alfred Hitchcock, The Birds. I don't really remember that movie a whole lot specifically, but that part where they walk in and see the guy with his eyes pecked out, that image was burned into my brain as a little kid. And I remember like just running to my room and, in a dark hallway as a kid at night, thinking about that poor fellow with his eyes pecked out and stuff, so. And I guess really, like these movies, they're violent. Jaws is a very violent movie, even though it's PG and stuff like that. So it's not just the violence that I guess was enthralling, but maybe just like the whole aspect of like being in danger. You're like, oh fuck, it's crazy. So yeah, that's probably the first example I would come up with off the top of my head. Yeah.
Would you say that like the fear of death is an inspiration for saying fuck it and just having fun?
Yeah. And I think that's something for us to think about, I don't want to be morbid, but any breath could be your last, I don't want to say this out loud. It sounds horrible, but, we could all die on the way home. It's important, I guess, to, really think about what you're doing and to have fun with your life because it could be shorter than you think, It's true. So, yeah, I would say the fear of death, would probably correlate with, the attitude of having fun. If somebody, nobody die on the way home, okay? Please, I don't want that on my conscience. I'd like to see all you guys live and prosper. So, I know we got one more question in here.
Sure. I was thinking that maybe you use VFX in some of your shots, but do you use VFX a lot in your films?
Like computer effects and stuff like that. Right. Every now and then we'll do some compositing, similar to like, the moonshot in the original Evil Dead movie, stuff like that. Anything that me and Eric can usually like figure out how to do on the computer ourselves, we'll try to do. There's a couple things that, we had to hide. And luckily, if it was like a still stationary shot, we could copy and paste something there. But as far as using like any digital effects, no. I mean, we've done like a couple fake like flares and explosions or something just to spice something up. We had a guy smash a lamp on somebody's face, so I put like some sparks on it. And it kind of looks fake, but it's, it's fun. But no, typically, I would say we probably don't do a lot of the VFX stuff because that would, we don't really know how to do it a whole lot. And it's also part of our aesthetic as far as like the old school thing goes. Because to me, like, it's kind of more fun for what we're doing if something looks like shit because it was something real rather than it looks like shit because it was something I did on the computer. You know, I think people accept that more than being like, you know, what the hell? That looks like shit, Dylan. Why did you do that? Rather than like, oh, these guys could have done better on that shoot, but I get, you know, that type of thing. So.
That one sweeping shot where it was like a bunch of graveyard, or it was like a tombstones.
Yeah.
I was wondering, did y'all put all those tombstones in?
We did. Those are carved out of foam. Yeah, we made those ourselves, like blowtorch to get, you know, kind of in that texture. Yeah, me and Eric actually spent a whole day like making these and painting them and everything. Oh, no, definitely not. And actually, funny you say that. We do get that a lot. Sometimes people will think something is, you know, CGI, as they say it, when it was actually real. So, like, that's, you know, that's pretty cool sometimes, you know. That, hell yeah. Well, thanks. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, again, I really, really thank you guys for showing up and listening to me talk about nonsense for this time. Mr. Simerly, I'm never going to live that down, calling you by the wrong last name.
You're right. You won't.
You're right, I won't. But yeah, thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it.